But let's move on to topic number 2. Who should be the favorite to win it all? The Celtics, the Thunder, or the Cavs? And Zay, you could begin. Who should be the favorite to win it all and why?
Between the three teams, you have to go with the Boston Celtics.
I agree.
They have the experience. They have multiple deep playoff pushes and runs. Prior to even making the NBA Finals, they made it to the NBA Finals and lost, and then went to the NBA Finals again and won. So, and then the core of the group is mainly together. So when you look at them, you have to say, the chemistry is still there, the coaching is still there. They went through tough battles together, all together. They have the veteran leadership to get themselves out of ruts and having the hard truth conversations in order to kind of break any underlying issues within the team. So I think outside of on court and off court stuff that pertains to a team to help them push it to the next level, I think the Boston Celtics should be the favorite out of the three to win it all. I do believe OKC has more talent, just have less time together to gel. And I think the Cleveland Cavaliers are still very young in terms of experience of making NBA Finals. I know Kenny Atkinson has been with the Golden State Warriors. He has multiple finals chips and appearances as an assistant coach, but Kenny Atkinson himself is still a young head coach, and I think he will get like stumped or like a roadblock when getting to those deep playoff pushes to see how they go. So I think right now Boston Celtics out of the three should be favored to win it all.
John, you up, man?
So I agree with Zay. I feel like Boston should be favored, but I'm gonna go the devil's advocate route a little bit, because the devil's advocate route is that the Cleveland Cavaliers have Donovan Mitchell, a guy that's been to the playoffs, made a couple of pushes himself, and a guy that could really lead this team farther than maybe anyone thinks. And farther than anyone thinks for the Cavaliers right now, as good as they've been, is winning a championship. So I 100% agree that the Boston Celtics have their nucleus, they have their core, they have a lot of their key players. They have Jason Tatum, they have Jaylen Brown, they have Kristaps Porzingis, who's been a big body for them, Al Horford, who's been another big body for them. This team has size, this team has experience, and this team has shown that they have grit, because they've come back from playoff pushes that have ended in failure and have been under the radar and criticized in the past until they won that championship over the Dallas Mavericks last year, which is why I think one of the big reasons that Luka Doncic ended up in LA. So I 100% think the Boston Celtics are the favorite to win the NBA championship, but the Cavaliers do have an experienced talent in Donovan Mitchell, who is a leader on that squad. And while I do think OKC is coming up, a lot of their talent is very young, including Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So I think OKC is building something special, and they are going to win a championship very soon. I just don't think this is their year. So I agree, but I would watch out for the Cavaliers, because I think whoever comes out of the Eastern Conference, if it's between those two, is going to win the championship.
Yeah, I'm gonna go contrary, and y'all made good points. It's hard to go against Boston, obviously, with the talent and championship DNA that they possess. But I'm gonna go with the Thunder. Look, they're really dangerous in their 3-point defense. They allowed the lowest 3-point percentage in the league thus far. In that second game against Boston, they really clamped them down in the second half. After the first half when Boston was shooting the lights out, but they really clamped them down in the second half. I believe in the second meeting, I know they played twice, I believe so far. With Boston, we know they live and die by the three. And the Thunder have an abundance of wings to be able to force Jaylen Brown and Tatum to put the ball on the floor. So I think them being able to guard the 3-point line makes them Boston's biggest threat. And dare I say, makes them the favorite. You bring it back to the basics. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is nearly impossible to defend. I mean, this is without consistently knocking down 3-point shots. I believe the most 3-pointers he's made in the game this year has been 5, and yet constantly 20 points per game. I believe like 59, 60 games with 20 plus points per game. So this team, you look at them, they could defend the perimeter. They have good rim protection, obviously. And I think when you look at that series last year, a lot of people want to hold that as, okay, there's a chink there. But when you look at them last year, the reason why they lost to the Mavs was they got out rebounded. They got dominated on the boards by Lively and Gafford, and also Josh Giddey, who's out here knocking down half court shots at the buzzer, couldn't hit a shot last year for them. Okay, and now you got Lou Dort out here that all of a sudden out here looking like Klay Thompson all of a sudden. I mean, if they can keep that up, if they can keep that up, they can actually win a 7-game series against Boston. But it comes back down to this. To me, I'm a little bit concerned of Boston's health. That's what tips the balance for me. Because I would agree. A fully healthy Boston team should be able to win 7 games against anybody, right? Or 4 games against anybody, right?
Yeah.
But I think when you look at Kristaps and the dynamic ability that he brings, being able to space the floor, you have to defend Boston differently when Kristaps is in the game. But if he's hurt, which, you know, he's been injury prone throughout his career, Boston is very beatable. Tatum is hurt right now. Obviously, we'll see how he looks when he comes back, possibly before the playoffs, whatever. Jaylen Brown has had lingering issues as well. So I think this team is banged up. They played long last year, obviously winning the championship. So they played a lot. They're going to continue to play a lot of games. They played in the Olympic team. So that's a lot of mileage on Tatum and Brown's bodies. And Derek White, I believe. Yeah, Derek White was in that game. I remember we criticized him for getting in there over Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown did not play in the game. Let me correct myself. He didn't play in the Olympics. But nonetheless, a lot of mileage. And I think injuries will potentially, knock on wood, play a toll. So I'm going to go with the safe bet for me, and that's the Thunder.
I love your point about styles make fights, but at the same time, when you talk about injuries, the Celtics are on a 7-game win streak right now, and that's with Jason Tatum hurt. So they can win with guys hurt, with guys recovering. They've shown that already. And once again, they do have the experience, and they've shown that they can shoot against the Thunder. They were clamped down a little bit in the second half, but they got shots off in the first half. So it's going to be a matter of if they can get shots off if they meet in the playoffs. They have to find different ways to put guys around the 3-point line to get them open and to get them to be able to shoot the ball from the 3-point line to compromise one of the Thunder's best weapons, which is 3-point defense, like you said. And I think they have the experience and the guys to be able to do that, especially if these two teams meet in the finals.
Let me ask y'all this question, because both of y'all obviously win Boston. And like I said, fully healthy, I think Boston wins the championship. I just don't believe they're going to be fully healthy. That's the difference here. And I do believe styles make fights, and I think the Thunder is the biggest threat to them by far. But who do y'all think is the bigger threat in this conversation to them? Will that be Cleveland in the East or the Thunder if they meet in the finals?
I think out of these two, Thunder, 100%, which is why I do like your point about the Thunder. I do think it would be an interesting series if the Cavs do meet the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. Again, they do have Donovan Mitchell to lead them, but at the same time, I just don't think the Cavaliers don't stack up against the Celtics right now. I think Oklahoma City Thunder has a much better chance of pulling a 7-game series out against Boston. But another point that I want to bring up is the Celtics do have size and they can play bully ball. So if they have their big bodies on the court, that could be another way you can get points on Oklahoma.
I think the Cavaliers match up really well with Boston Celtics. The height matches with their team. Evan Mobley's ability to both guard the paint and the perimeter is a huge bonus for them because now it makes Tatum work a little harder to get his buckets. I'm not saying he can't get his buckets because he could score when he's hot. He can get his buckets no matter what, but it makes it a little bit more difficult for him to have to shoot over a 7-footer and have to try to drive past Evan Mobley and do all these different things to get open. So it makes it a little bit more difficult in terms of the Cavs. So I think the Cavs are the team that would be in the way of the Celtics if they go to the Eastern Conference Finals out of these 3 teams.
To me, and it's my last point, I think that the Celtics and the Cavs are not going to beat the Celtics in the 3-point shootout. And I understand this, the Cavaliers don't live and die by the 3 like Boston does, but they do shoot a lot of threes, but they could do a lot more. I just think that series will tend to be like a shootout, and I think Boston is out going to shoot them. I think how you stop Boston is literally forcing them to put the ball on the floor. And I think the Thunder could do that with their 3-point defense. So that's the difference for me. I think they're better as far as up front because of Isaiah Hartenstein and what he can do on the boards. Yeah, sure. Chet Holmgren could get, dominated, at the paint, but he can knock down the shots. They can knock down their shots as well. Shea, once again, I think is the best player on either team. I think he's better than Tatum. I think he's better than Brown. I think he's better than Mitchell. I don't think that's a debate. He's going to win the MVP. Yeah, I think the Thunder for me. We can leave that there.